Let's talk about manifestation, and not the kind that you see in those videos that promise a mansion and $1 million, or you can maybe get your ex back by midnight. You know those ones. They make it sound like all you have to do is repeat something for 5 days and your whole life will change. Yeah, we're not going to talk about those ones. I'm going to talk about the actual real thing, the actual experience of something showing up in your life that used to only live in your imagination. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's weird, and sometimes it makes zero sense, but it happens. And when it does, you feel it. I've seen people manifest some incredible things, not because they sat around making vision boards all day, but because they were in sync with what they wanted. They got clear, they trusted what they felt, and they took the steps when the steps showed up. For instance, this actually happened to me earlier this year. I had about 97,000 followers on a social media platform, and my birthday was coming up, and I thought, okay, for my birthday, I want to get up to 100,000 because I've been doing this for, 5 years and I can't get there. And I just said, I'm just going to do it. And then I let it go. I didn't push. Now, the next day, I got this really strong inspiration to make this weird video about all this fake spiritual stuff and how much I hated it around there. And I didn't really overthink it. I just did it off the cuff. And that one video took me from 97 to 106K literally overnight. Now, that wasn't luck. That was just alignment. That was following that inspiration when it showed up and not talking myself out of doing it. Some manifestations are so spot on, they make you stop and go, all right, what just happened? And honestly, I don't need some scientific explanation for that. The universe doesn't need to be analyzed for it to be real. But I will say this, manifestation, it's not about sitting back and waiting for life to hand you stuff. It's about becoming the version of who you actually are, who you're actually living that life. It's about clearing up what doesn't fit anymore. It's listening to your gut. It's moving when it's time to move, even when it doesn't make any sense. You see, your brain actually plays a part in this too. There's this filter in your brain called the reticular activating system. And basically, what it does is it decides what you notice based on what you're focused on. Okay? So if you ever think about something and then suddenly you start seeing it everywhere, that's what that is. One time I had told my mom, it's not long ago, they said, you know what, if I could get a black and fluorescent green Jeep, I think that'd be so cool. I kind of like the black and fluorescent green Jeeps. And that same day, we saw fluorescent green cars everywhere. That's not a common color where I live, but everything was a fluorescent green car. Now, that's just not some spiritual idea. That was literally my brain tuning in to what I told it to look for. And there's research behind this. When you visualize something and you actually feel it as real, your brain starts laying the tracks for it. Even the placebo effect. It proves belief alone can shift what happens in your body. So if belief has that much power and you pair it with aligned action, yeah, you're going to start seeing the shift. Now, let's talk about love for a second, because this is where a lot of people, I think, get tripped up and scammed. Can you manifest love? Yes. Can you attract someone who feels aligned, safe, connected, and real? Absolutely. But can you manifest one specific person like your ex from 3 months ago? That's where this gets a little bit tricky. You see, you can't override someone's free will. You can do all the scripting, the rituals, the candles, the 369 stuff. You still can't make someone choose you, even if they do come back. They're probably not going to be the version of them you're actually hoping for, because this is not about dragging somebody into your life. It's about becoming someone who naturally attracts what actually supports your peace or their peace. I've been there. I tried to manifest somebody back once, and I did. And we had gotten along really well in the beginning, and after we broke up, I just really wanted them back bad. And I did get them back. But guess what? It was like for a day. I'll never forget, we were sitting in the car, and they said, hey, I don't really think you want me. I think you're just in love with being in love. I was like, what? Oh my God, they were right. That hit hard. And it was like the universe used them to snap me out of it. We ended it the next day. And honestly, I'm glad, because if it had dragged on, it probably would have been a mess for both of us. So you don't really manifest people. You manifest frequency. You attract what you're aligned with, not just what you say you want. So If you're sitting in lack or old pain or fear, you're going to keep pulling in versions of that, even if it's in a different package. Sometimes what you want doesn't come through, but it's not because you did it wrong, but because your soul knows it's not for you. Maybe not yet, or not in the way you thought. And then there's the whole industry side of this. People out here selling manifestation like it was a product. You've seen them. They start the video with, "Oh, namaste," and then light some sage, and 5 minutes later, they're pitching you a $1,000 course to manifest your ex by Friday. And if it doesn't work, guess what? It's because your energy isn't enough. You just need more coaching. See, that's not spirituality. That's marketing. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody say, "If you've got 8 minutes, I'll give you the secret to manifestation I've learned over the past decade." And then they tell you something you've already heard in 100 other videos, or you could have figured it out by reading a book for 5 minutes. And right after that, here comes the coaching package. And it's like, "Oh, wait, you just told me the secret. Why do I have to buy a coaching package? Isn't that it? Aren't we done now?" No, they just want you to pay for more. You want to know what actually works? You get clear. You stay connected to the feeling, not the outcome. You stop forcing it. You take the next right step when it shows up, and you let it go when it's time. You stop chasing people who've already walked out of your life, and you stop letting people convince you that you're broken so they can sell you something. Manifestation isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you actually are and acting from that place. If you're trying to manifest something from fear or ego or lack, guess what? It's just going to show up distorted. But when you're in peace, when you're grounded and connected, and you're trusting what you feel, things will start moving, the right things, in the right ways, and at the right time. And no, it doesn't always look the way you pictured it. Sometimes, most times, it looks way better. So let me say this before I wrap up. Some of the most powerful manifestations I've had were the ones I forgot about. The ones I asked for and then let go of. The stuff I didn't obsess over. It's like I whispered it to the universe, moved on with my life, and then weeks or months later, it just kind of showed up. It was there. It was like, "Hey, remember me?" Now that's real magic. That's how this works. You don't have to fall for the hype. You don't have to chase illusions. And don't let anybody make you feel like you're failing just because it hasn't shown up yet. This isn't about wishing harder. This is about alignment. When you stop chasing and you start becoming, when you stop begging and you start embodying, that's when things will shift. That's when it gets real. So please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see more videos like this. And I wrote a book called Wake the Hell Up. It's about cutting through all the hype around the spiritual awakening stuff. The link's below if you're curious. And the only way to reach me is through my website, theywhispertome.com. I will never, ever message you for a reading. All right? Thanks for watching, you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.